Coach Clifford, Dan Savage, OrlandoMagic.com.
Cliff, as you look at this Mavericks team tonight, what do you see as some of the keys for your group against them?
Well, I mean, obviously it starts with, just trying to slow down Doncic, who's, he's first in usage in the NBA. He's first in drives into the paint. He's between 8 and 9 free throws a game, 28-5. I mean, he's an incredible player. So, we have to, even more than, well, there's a couple other guys similar, but you have to be able to mix up coverages. There's nothing to me that you can do in his pick and roll game that's going to slow him down or slow them down for any period of time. So you have to have 2 or 3 things, and you have to be able to switch it up during the game. And if you can't do that, he's seen it all already, even at a young age, and he's just too good. So I watched our game last year, and we were able to do that for periods. And then we had one stretch with a group in there that just couldn't mix things up, and he crushed us. You guys might remember the game was like 2 and it went to 12 and, in like 5 possessions. So you can't make mistakes. I mean, he's that good.
Josh Robbins, The Athletic.
Steve, we understand that James won't play tonight, but how is he coming along, and how is Aaron Gordon coming along in his rehab as well?
I mean, I can't give you a timetable. I mean, they're both in there, they're working. The thing we can't do with James is he's just in a place where, again, because of minutes that have just piled up here for a lot of our guys, he's in a place where, we don't want to lose him for a month, and he needs this time to, get his body back, and get rid of he's got a lot of things going on. And then with AG, he's able to do more on the floor, but I have no idea what the timetable would be.
Chuck Cooperstein, Dallas Radio.
Hey, Steve. You were talking about Doncic and mixing up coverages, or at least he's seen pretty much everything you can see. It seems as if with guys like him and Harden, that the trying to trap him, at least, when he goes to the left side of the floor, at least to show him that, seems to have given him a little more trouble than maybe some other coverages. And is that something that, can be used more than just infrequently to try to slow him down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like this. If you're not up, as the screener, so that you at least give him immediate resistance when he comes up to pick and roll, it's over. Once he starts going downhill and he does all those dribble seals and he literally stops the game, right, where he's dribbling the ball and he's so wide and so strong and so skilled that, whatever, you're at his mercy, right? And the problem with the blitzing, which is what we try to do in Dallas and just all out, second night of a back-to-back, let's just try to do it, is he's a great passer. And he's got so much size that, it's whenever you double team, no matter where it is, Vooch is the same way with us. If the double team doesn't impact the ball handler and they have a ton of skill on the floor, they're going to shoot wide open shots. It's just the way that it is. And so that's the tough one. There are some really good players that if you double team them, I mean, they're not that good anymore. He still is. He drives away from the pick and roll. If he knows the double team is there, he'll split it. If the guy's not up, he'll drive around the big. And then you talk about the left side of the floor. You guys watch him play all the time. That's his side, obviously. That's where he makes most of his threes from. But what you are doing to me is he can't be in rhythm. Harden's the same way. Durant's the same way. LeBron's the same way. If they know what you're going to do, it's to me, it's over. He's that good. So you've got to be able to mix it up, and you have to have groups on the floor. Everybody has to be able to adapt to changing coverages, which makes it more difficult because you can't have to call a timeout every time you're going to switch it up. And that's what we talked about this morning. We've actually been pretty good about that the last couple of years, but not with him. We have yet to have any game with him where we've really given him trouble at all.
Roy Perry, Orlando Sentinel.
Steve, perhaps you heard that a little while ago. The Hawks have fired Lloyd Pierce, and I know that you had a really good relationship with him. You paralleled, he came to Atlanta when you got into Orlando. While the NBA is a business in a way, there's still only 30 head coaches. How difficult is it when you hear news like that, and does it sort of make you kind of step back and just keep things in perspective a little bit?
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, plus he's done a really good job. And I think that there's so much that goes into coaching at any level. I think obviously in our league, it's, they're all great players, like UB Brown told me my first year, you better understand they're all a big deal somewhere. They're all stars. Your 15th man is a big deal somewhere, and you better know how to deal with each one of them because they can all get you fired. And there's so much that goes into it, but the hard one is, it's a rebuild. Rebuilds are difficult. He started from scratch there, and he's done a really good job last year, in my opinion. If John Collins doesn't miss all those games, they're probably a playoff team, or they would have been right there. So there's things that a coach, how can I say, I think I've told you this guys before, but one of the ways you can find peace as a coach, I saw this quote a few years ago, and it was from Mac Brown. And he said that he learned this is you need to learn to take the right amount of credit and the right amount of blame. And it helps me, when you watch film after every game, there's things you could do better. If you're honest as a coach, you never coach the perfect game, from plays calls to coverages to subbing to whatever it is. Okay. But you have to come to a place for yourself where you can say, I wasn't very good tonight, or I was good. And you also have to know where your team is at, what they're capable of doing. And then you can't worry about what other people think. You just can't. I mean, this is not a profession where being sensitive or wanting somebody to say good job, or actually people having an idea if you're doing a good job or not, because frankly, they don't. And I think coaches know, coaching staffs know. The only people that really know who's doing a good job coaching are the people that watch film. That's it. And the only people that watch film in this league are the coaches. So I think that if you talk to people, and this is not being disrespectful, it's just how I feel. The only people, I think that if you took with Lloyd being in mind, if you took made phone calls to all the coaches around the league and talked to them about who's a good offensive coach versus some of the stuff that's out there, you'd be very surprised. It's just the way it is. Players are the same way. A lot of players get credit for things they're not even that good at. And they don't get credit for things they're very good at. It's just the nature of our game. But he's done a really good job. He's a tremendous person. And this is a hard one.
Christo Salta, Sport DNA.
Hello, Coach. What different do you expect to see from your players tonight than since the game against Utah?
Well, hopefully the two things that we've been good at all year were what cost us the game. Is one, we can't foul. We're first in the NBA in not fouling, and we fouled jump shooters 5 times in that game. And then the second thing is we're second in the NBA in defensive rebounding, and the number one reason we lost was they crushed us on the glass. So actually, if you look at it, it was especially for our team, a very efficient offensive game. Especially, they were coming in second in defense. We had almost what would have been a top 10 offensive game, but our rebounding and fouling, which is not, really characteristic of how we play, just crushed us.
Aaron Goldstone, Orlando Pinstripe Post.
Thanks, Coach. Dallas is a high volume 3-point attempt team, and they took 40 and knocked down 20 in your first matchup earlier this season. I know you've already gone through Doncic and the game plan, but how critical will it be tonight to rotate and not blow coverages on the perimeter defensively, whether it's Tim Hardaway Jr. or Kleber, or, I know he hasn't been playing a lot, but even Trey Burke?
Oh, no question. And I think that in that game, two of the biggest factors were when we did bring two to the ball with Doncic, they drilled us and we blitzed him and it ended up getting, they got a lot of open threes, which they made. And then the other one is, Hardaway had a great game, which he can do. He's a very, very good offensive player. He has many ways that he can score. And we never got him under control in that game. So, the guys you just talked about, I think Kleber's like 44 from three. I think Hardaway's like 42 from three. And going back here ever since he's been in the league, Burke he used to give us trouble in Charlotte, and he had a big game with us last year also.
Alex Fleming, Florida Sun.
Coach, last year in this arena, Doncic went off in the first half. And then when you applied pressure on him in the second half, he got the rest of his teammates open. That's when Kleber was starting to hit threes. What's the game plan to slow down the bench, considering that they're comparable enough to actually pull them through and win the game in the second half?
Yeah, and Hardaway's a big part of the bench play too. It's the same thing is where they ran away from us last year in the game here was we got mixed up with coverages in the third quarter. I watched that game yesterday rather, and that was a 2-point game with about, I think, 4.5 left in the third, and we broke the lineup. Everybody that plays tonight's got to be on it. They got to be on it. When you make a substitution, those guys coming in off the bench, we have to be able to mix up coverages. We did that against him last year, and he's still good. He's going to get his point. He averages 28. He's going to get his, but you can't have the mistakes, and that's what happened last year.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.